This is Cutting Down the Nets. It is the college basketball betting show. Today is December 7th, 2021. How are we feeling, Matthew?
Let's go!
It's just the greatest thing, of all time. One of my favorite things. Okay, so let's get into betting college basketball. So here is my process. I track all my picks at BetStamp, user ID CDTN, which is an abbreviation for cutting down the nets. So what I do, I have an efficiency model. It goes through game-by-game adjusted efficiencies of all the college basketball teams. If you need more information on adjusted efficiencies, go to barttorvik.com, kenpom.com, or just watch the pinned video on this channel. So what I'm doing is I'm running that for the entire schedule of games for that day. I then narrow the pool. I eliminate games that did not show a variance between my efficiency model and the actual spread. I then identify any risk of the remaining teams looking to cut down one more time, and then ultimately place the wager. So how do you find me on BetStamp, and what is BetStamp? So BetStamp, it's free, and it's just a great way to track games and, in someone as in a position like me, communicate what they bet and at what time and what numbers and all that sort of stuff. I think it's a little tricky when you're recording video content to be like, what did I actually get the number at? So I did put one in last night, so I would have a pick today, and I really liked it. It was Jacksonville at 10.5 against Georgia. So BetStamp will track closing line value, which I think is super valuable. And then obviously tally your results, net profit, closing line value, ROI, all that sort of stuff. So all you need is a free account, and then you go to Marketplace. And I'm currently a featured user for some reason, but I'm right there. However, you could just go to the search bar and search CDTN to pull up my profile. So how has this year gone? Real well. 191, 142, and 7 so far. That's 57.4%. I would consider that running real hot. Do I think that will continue? Yeah, I think it will. I don't know if at that clip, but I've been very pleased with the results. Basically, how this has worked this year is very early on, before games have been played. I look for discrepancies between preseason rankings and what I think is going to happen. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of assumptions made when a season starts related to the expected pace of a team and things like that. And if you just dig in a little bit, look at coaching changes, you can find some discrepancies. So what has led to success now is a lot of these sites and markets are still anchored to preseason expectations, and I am relying on real-time data from games that actually were played. I'm ignoring preseason assumptions, and it's going well. So that is BetStamp, and how you find me, there's a link to the YouTube channel there. Hopefully you turn into the show, but if not, you can always hop into BetStamp and see what I placed, when I placed it, and at which numbers. So how I'll go through the games is I run my script. I then copy and paste that into Excel so that I can compare my numbers to the market. And when I say compared to the market, I'm looking at a few things. So I'll go ahead and show you that. These are the current games. Patty is my number. Again, I don't make that as a human. This is an efficiency model. The computer tells me the number. Don't think it's my opinion on the game or anything like that. It is a model that's worked for me for a long time, and we named her Patty. Bart Torvik's line, Ken Palm's line, and then the actual line. I'll put some notes in here and go through game by game. So, Tennessee, Texas Tech, I have that closer to a pick'em. The line is actually Tennessee by 4. This is played at Madison Square Garden. I think this is an even matchup. Both these teams have similar styles. I'm looking for reasons to exclude this game from my pool, and I'm not really finding them. Again, more than a possession, neither team really due for any 3-point regression, and it's a game that I am comfortable with. Belmont St. Louis is off. That's why it's gray, and it's off because the line is 2. Ken Pom thought 1. Patty thought 1.5. Bart Torvik thought a half. There's nothing there. Move on. I'm doing a much better job this year of avoiding FOMO and not feeling like I have to bet every game. And I am willing to sit out a game if I've got a bad feeling about it or if the number is not as good as it could be. Michigan, Nebraska. I have closer to 4. The market says 7. If you want to play this, I don't think I will. I would bet it as late as possible. Again, that's an example of the market still being anchored to the Michigan priors. And I don't know. I think you're seeing how important Wagner and Livers were to that team. Yeah, they just can't get much going offensively. So a road game at Nebraska, I don't know. It's something worth looking at, but just to give you a feel of where my mindset is on that, Furman Winthrop is off. Syracuse Villanova, this will probably be a high variance game with lots of jump shots. But I think the Nova offense versus Syracuse defense is enough of a mismatch. Syracuse surprised me against Florida State, kind of from a rebounding perspective and just their ability to make shot after shot, which is what Boeheim brothers are going to do. However, Florida State shot is less than 15% from three-point range, so I have no problems assuming Villanova can best that, and data has this significant advantage for Villanova over Syracuse. Navy George Mason. I was on Mason early in the year. They certainly have not played well lately, and the games they won, like Maryland has not played well lately. So 5.5 points here is pretty good. However, on the flip side, Navy has a very inconsistent profile themselves. They basically have overwhelmed weak competition and inflated their defensive numbers, which is leading to this being closer to a pick'em. So I'm kind of on the fence. Data says, yeah, numbers big enough. This is where I just would, I don't know. You just have to make a decision on whether you want to assume that risk or not. For comparison's sakes, Ken Pom, Bart, and Patty are all in agreement that 5.5 is too many. Next up, Virginia, James Madison. Virginia doesn't look good. So basically we have a situation where Ken Pom thinks they should be favored by 6. Current line is 4.5. Bart Torvik and Patty have that closer to a pick'em. Virginia has been beaten with the 3, not an area that I think James Madison can exploit. James Madison can get up and down, so expect to see a few more possessions than a typical Virginia game. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. So I'm kind of on the fence here. If that got back to a 2-possession spread, I'd be far more interested in. College of Charleston versus Tulane. Charleston's the fastest team in the country. I'm likely not playing this game. I do have Charleston favored slightly. Current line is 4. Ken Pom thought 7. So really what I'm doing here is watching to see if that 4 gets closer to 7, and then perhaps I'll make a play. If I do, you would see it on BetStamp. Sitting out LMU and Tulsa, let's get to Oakland and Bowling Green. So using data from this year, Oakland is a 10, 11 point favorite by Patty, and the spread is only 2. On top of that, I feel Oakland is due to some positive regression from 3-point. They're shooting 25% on the year. Oakland's a 3-point centric offense. So to have the current data like Oakland and feel like they are leaving, 7 to 10% on the table from a 3-point success rate, I would love Oakland in this spot. Sitting out the next ones, again, you can pause the video and look at the numbers, but if I'm sitting it out, there's usually a reason. Next up, Umass and Northeastern. This is going to be a bit of a rock fight, a bit of a grinder. Neither team plays fast. Ken Pom has this game real close. The current spread is 2. I have Northeastern by a couple possessions. I also think UMass is due for some regression. They're shooting 41% from 3. So I've mentioned regression from 3-point quite a bit so far. If Baylor has played 25 games, if Villanova has played 25 games and are shooting 41% from three, I don't think those teams are due for regression. Now, if in the last couple games of those 25, they were running real hot, shooting 50% plus or something like that, then it's something I would factor in. But after a handful of games, 5, 6, 7 games, a UMass team shooting that hot from three, that's what I mean by 3-point regression. So if data likes Northeastern and I expect UMass to cool off a bit from three, I am fine with the Northeastern play there. Sitting out Temple Vanderbilt, although something to note, Temple did lose one of their best players. Again, just not seeing much there. Brown and Merrimack, the market and I agree, and Bart Torvik and Ken Palm do not, but either way, I'm not playing that game. Bradley Toledo, something to note is there is a consensus from us three that Toledo is the play. I just don't think there's enough value there, but it is something to note when it's kind of a consensus play. So if you like lots of action or if you want to sprinkle something in there, go for it. Charlotte, Arkansas, that number is just too big for me. I respect Arkansas as a program and don't want to go there. Butler, Oklahoma. Ken Palm has Oklahoma by 6. Patty has Oklahoma by 16. And Bart and the market are in the middle. So I think the big key here is Butler has ball security issues, but I am hoping for that number to dip. I'm trying to show some restraint and hope that people are looking at Ken Palm and blindly betting that down to give me a better number to play on Oklahoma. North Dakota State, Montana State. This one's in orange for me because I'm kind of like, Montana State is running real well. What I mean by that is just their offensive performances look a little bit unsustainable. And Ken Palm has this closer to 3. So if the number dipped closer to Ken Palm, I'd be interested in it. But something to know is this line opened in the 3.5 range and was bet up to 5. So I don't know, it just feels like you're chasing there a little bit, but definitely something to monitor. South Dakota, Northern, Colorado. I just would need this to drop. Not enough variance on a large slate like this to want to play something extra. Duquesne, DePaul. Patty says 13. Bart says 12. Ken Palm says 10. Actual line is 8. The Dukes are really undersized here, and I like DePaul's chances of converting a lot of close range 2-pointers. Southern Kentucky is off. You did see on BetStamp, I bet Jacksonville last night at 10.5. Current line's 9.5 or 9. Still fine with that. So certainly not as good a number as it could have been, but Bovada did not have the 10.5 last night, so I had to settle for a 9.5. Boise State, Cal State, Northridge. Looks like value here. Patty 8, Bart 9, Ken Palm 9, where the market has Boise State by 13. However, Boise State has not shot the ball well. I think in the 25% range. So I think they're due for some regression, and that's not enough to make me want to bite on Cal State Northridge, who is not a very good team. Speaking of not very good teams, Fairleigh Dickinson and LaSalle, I have this closer than what the 10.5 point spread is, but those two teams are rough, and I'm trying to show restraint. Sacred Heart, Rhode Island, it's just a big number. Similar story here with Rhode Island and Santa Clara. Those are really big numbers for teams that are okay. If I want to take a big number, I would want the opponent to be real bad and the favored team to be more on the elite level than what I consider Rhode Island and Santa Clara to be. Data does like it, but showing restraint. Bucknell, Princeton is off. Old Dominion, William & Mary is off. North Dakota, Cal Baptist is off. And then Eastern Illinois, Missouri. I think this should be 12 to 13, as does Bart Torvik. Ken Palm thinks 18, and the current line is 18. Here's the deal. Missouri is awful. I know they're from a major conference, but I think most efficiency models have them in the 300 range out of all college basketball teams. From an offensive perspective, Missouri is 310th in offensive efficiency, but Eastern Illinois is 356th in offensive efficiency. So there could be some value here. It's just both those teams are awful, so I am going to pass. So that's pretty much the format of each of these shows. I'll kind of walk through what I like and then give you a little bit of a summary at the end. So again, you can track what I bet and at what numbers at BetStamp. User ID is CDTN. There's a little space here, and that's meant to be like a tier break. Okay, so this top section would be my preferred tier. Those are games that I am likely playing no matter what, although you do see a weight on Oklahoma. And then the second tier is stuff I'm looking at. I'm monitoring. I put some numbers in there as guidance, showing you what the market is and what I think is possible. Just don't be afraid to sit out games. I just have no problem sitting out games. So this is cutting down the nets. Went into a little more context today. So we ran about 15, 16 minutes. I expect when I do these videos, it'd be closer to 10 minutes. However, if you want to just blindly see what I played, it would be at BetStamp with user ID CDTN for cutting down the nets. However, this show will give you much needed context as to why or why not I'm playing something, and I look forward to seeing you. Thanks for stopping by.